Welcome to Open Fire, where we're going to open fire on all the gaming technology. 10 here with Twisted.
Hey.
And we're going to talk about all the technology and everything you need to know for this December. We're going to try to update this show weekly, and let's take it to our main event. Our first question is, with the release of the new PS3, the new PS3 Slim on the $299 price point, is it worth it at this time to buy a PS3 console, considering the games out for it and all of the capabilities? Do we believe that Sony will carry this thing for the rest of the quarter and rest of its lifespan? Twisted, you go ahead and start. Buy a PS3, yes or no?
Well, I think now you're kind of buying late into the game. I mean, the game was released quite a few years ago. I mean, but I've talked to some non-PS3 owners out there. I tried to ask them to set aside, their biases against it and say, would you like to buy it now? And I've gotten some mixed opinions. Some people say, yeah, sure, why not buy it now? You get the slim version, it's a great price, and you get a bundle pack. You get a movie and a game with it. So... But then also, too, I've seen, the opposite side. I mean, the Slim no longer has backwards compatibility. And I know Tim over here is kind of annoyed that there's no more sliding button.
Oh, yeah, the sliding button, but there's no backwards, no PS2 at all.
No PS2, no PS1. It's only PS3 games.
And that was the problem beforehand. That only makes it worse. I think it's a good idea to buy one now, and I'll tell you a couple reasons why. All right? And I'm surprised you're disagreeing, because you're a fellow PS3 owner.
Yes,
I mean, obviously, we play all consoles. But you're your PS3 is one of your big ones. But what I think is, I mean, the sliding button, that was too much fun. That was just a little something I loved about the PS3, and the button, I love that sliding thing. But there's big reasons to stay with Sony, at least in my opinion. I think the Sony PS3, I believe the Sony bullshit 10-year plan. I don't think they're full of shit. And I think they're really going to bring that gay-ass wand prototype that's going to be hopefully better. But they have a lot of technology that the Nintendo Wii does nowhere scrape the surface of. I believe they're bridging the physical and virtual gap very well. The PlayStation Network is absolutely insane. It's free. You get free online. But the PSN... awesome stuff, really good stuff. I think that it's. I'm not gonna say it's better than Xbox Live, but the PSN Network gives you everything you want plus more, and not to mention their new first-party content, Uncharted 2. Is anyone actually taking a good look at that game? Jesus Christ, that is one of the best-looking games I've ever seen. The gameplay is outstanding. It has online, even though it's no Halo or whatever. But the game that you're being shown and the game that's being played is amazing. Any rebuttal?
Well. Not really, no.
I think you should definitely buy one. Okay. As far as any other consoles on there, I mean, all of them have their pros and cons. I mean, the main thing you got to know is that when you buy a console, you have to buy what you want. You got to buy into games that you're interested in. You got to buy into that kind of stuff. Don't buy into a console you're not interested in. But if you're on the fence about a PlayStation, a holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever's coming up, go for it. I say if you're on the fence about it, go for it. You will be rewarded. All right, our next topic is going to be talking about the delay of some games that are out with big titles like Modern Warfare 2 and Assassin's Creed coming out has definitely diminished some of the other titles that are coming out. Their sales have been down, and of stuff like that. But other than other games like Brutal Legend selling poorly, some companies have decided not to release at all and hold themselves back and wait till the new year before they release their games. Is this a good or a bad thing?
Well, I mean, in my personal opinion, I think it was a great idea. I mean, perfect scapegoat sort of scenario is look at Brutal Legends. Brutal Legends, an original title, a great game. It got wrecked. It barely made enough sales.
I think Jack Black kind of lost his edge. Like, I don't think he's as popular as he used to be.
Well, even so, I mean, subtracting, the whole Blackjack scenario, because that we could make a whole nother discussion on, but in this case, they just got completely overshadowed by the new games. I mean, like, you have other games that are soon going to be coming out. God of War 3, for example.
Absolutely.
They completely held off. I mean, if they could, they really could have released during November, but they would have been completely overshadowed by all the big game releases.
And Modern Warfare with big sales records. I think it's a great thing, because I think later on, when we have these gaming droughts, when we got no games coming out, we got games like, take like in the summer, you got, what are we playing in the summer? Ultimately garbage. You're going to be happy that maybe some of these games were spaced out and not all at once. Sometimes you got just too much all at once, and you can't catch up. You don't really get the time to enjoy them. I think splitting up your time might be a good thing, and it probably, since they got more production time, games like Mass Effect 2 and Splinter Cell Conviction will come out to be better games in the long run. And Splinter Cell, that's a game to watch. I mean, that's just, other than that.
Alright, so now we're gonna kind of move into the next segment. There's a lot of commotion going on in the gaming world over, well, graphical representation. Cel-shaded or animated versions versus a realism game. So our prime examples are going to be maybe Modern Warfare 2, a realism game, versus Borderlands, a cel-shaded game. So, 10?
Well, some cel-shaded... See, a lot of people come on the side of cel-shading and say things like, oh, it's a shortcut, or they're BSing the style, and stuff like that. I think the cel-shading is... I don't believe any of that stuff. I think it's an art style choice. And I think now that we have the ability to make these art styles and have these things and, like, you know, new ways to do it, is ultimately, you know, it's cool because, you know, it's not always the same kind of stuff. It brings more style, and it's, you know, some people have different visions and things like that. And I think it's to some point allowing the art aspect to come in, but some games should have never attempted it. And I would say particularly, I mean, not just cel-shaded, but other animation. I mean, I think games like Wind Waker, I mean, I know that's way back, but I mean, I think that I was trying to incorporate a younger audience that Nintendo really didn't even need, because that's all they got. And, you know, there's things like that, you know, the animation, not a good idea. Borderlands looked a lot better beforehand. And, you know, maybe the reason, I'm not saying the reason why it didn't sell is because it's cel-shaded. I think it's because it released at a really bad time, and it was rightfully not supposed to, probably not going to sell as well as some of the other games out there. But sometimes cel-shaded is just a bad choice. But on top of that, we got more games like, I'm thinking of Mad World, which is using cel-shading. Sometimes it's okay, because cel-shading is, like, used to make gore less or tone it down a little bit. You look at Mad World, you know, they took the you know, games like Mad World take the cel shading to different levels. So take a very violent game and use the cel shading or a different style to make it not as realistic. I'm thinking Mad World and Team Fortress 2 in particular. And it just makes it, tones down the violence, because imagine Team Fortress 2, a very gory game, shows bodies exploding and things like that. It really, I think what that is making it less maybe hated in the world. You know, you've watched some of these clips that are going by right now, you can see how very violent it is.
Alright. Well, I kind of disagree with you as far as the Borderlands thing goes. Cel shading, it is an art form, but it also has to portray a certain feel about the game. Take Borderlands. Borderlands, you're off-world bounty hunters showing up to this desolate wasteland of a planet looking for the vault, a sort of, like, you know, kind of a fountain of youth sort of thing, you know, great riches and wealth and such. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm quite sure I'm right. But you have to portray the fact that, you know, it's kind of not real. So throwing in the cel-shaded effects kind of gives it a feel of, like, a little air of fantasy to it, with different enemies, the aliens, your superpowers and such that you guys have. Or, like, let's take Team Fortress 2 again. If you sold that as a realism-based game,
I think there would be protests. I think that would be terrible.
Yeah. There's also, too, I mean, you, like, just think about it. Put gore aside. Just, you know, guys walking around with huge chain guns and dudes in, you know, fireproof suits running around with flamethrowers and such. You put those in realistic form, it's not gonna look good, alright? No, it's not gonna be believable. The gameplay won't look nice, and it'll just ultimately fail. So with a sort of an animated style look at it,
because it's a fantasy, you get at a fantasy element.
Yes, you throw in kind of a fantasy bit to it, and kind of to understand, yes, it's not real.
Okay, I mean, you look at, I think Mad World kind of missed the boat completely, because I think what that did is I think it brought too much. Like, okay, the first thing you notice about Mad World is it's black, white, and red, and that's like a, you know, recipe for disaster. First of all, with some terrible movies that use this style, but I think it accentuates the gore, which makes it sick. I saw some clips. I was disgusted. This game is probably one of the sickest, most, you know, disturbing, stupidest concepts ever. And, you know, this is coming from someone who backed up